My girlfriend slept with my best friend and lied about it for months. Now they're both telling me I should just let it go to keep the peace, but I'm ready to walk away. I always thought my relationship with Emily was solid. She was my girlfriend for nearly 3 years, and things were going well. I'm 27, working a stable job, and we even talked about moving in together. But the one thing I always loved was how well she got along with my best friend Alex. He's been my closest friend since high school, and the three of us would hang out all the time: movies, dinners, game nights. I trusted them both completely, and that's why it destroyed me when I found out they'd been sleeping together behind my back for months. The whole thing unraveled slowly, like one of those suspense movies where you don't realize what's happening until it's too late. At first, it was little things. Emily and Alex laughing at jokes I didn't get, inside jokes I wasn't part of. They'd text each other constantly, even more than they texted me. But I shrugged it off because I didn't think anything of it. I trusted them both. Why wouldn't I? But then there were moments when I'd catch Emily being a little too secretive with her phone or Alex making excuses to hang out without me. Something felt wrong, but I kept pushing it to the back of my mind, not wanting to believe it. The moment that really started to raise alarm bells happened one night at a party. I'd gone to get us drinks, and when I came back, I saw them standing close together, whispering and laughing like I wasn't even there. I brushed it off, trying not to make a scene, but as the night went on, I noticed more things. Alex would find little excuses to touch her arm, or Emily would laugh a little too hard at his jokes. It felt like I was watching them from the outside, like I didn't belong there. And when I asked Emily about it later, she got defensive, telling me I was imagining things. That's when I started paying closer attention. Emily and Alex were always finding reasons to hang out without me, random errands, last-minute plans. I'd come home from work, and she'd casually mention how they went for coffee or how they'd run into each other by accident. It didn't feel right, but every time I tried to bring it up, she'd accuse me of being jealous or paranoid. "He's your best friend," she'd say, giving me that innocent smile. "Don't you trust him?" Of course, I trusted him. That's what made this whole situation so confusing. I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend, but something felt seriously off. Then came the night when everything finally clicked. I came home early from work. Emily wasn't expecting me, and I wasn't supposed to be home for another couple of hours. When I walked in, I heard her talking in the bedroom, and it wasn't just casual conversation. It was intimate. I stood there frozen, listening to her laugh in that soft way she used to with me. I inched closer, and that's when I heard her say his name. Alex. My heart dropped. I stood there, barely able to breathe, as I realized she wasn't just talking to a friend, she was talking to him. The one person I trusted the most. I barged into the room, unable to control the rage boiling inside me. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded. Emily turned pale, her eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. She immediately ended the call and stammered, "It's not what you think," but her guilty expression told me otherwise. I asked her point blank, "Are you seeing Alex behind my back?" She hesitated, and in that moment, I knew. She didn't need to say anything. I felt like my world was crumbling. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely holding together. She started crying, admitting that they'd slept together months ago but swore it was just once and a mistake. I couldn't even look at her. My chest felt tight, my mind racing in every direction. Months? She had been lying to me for months. I stormed out of the apartment, slamming the door behind me. I got in my car and just drove. No destination in mind, just needing to get away. My phone buzzed with messages from Emily, but I couldn't bring myself to read them. Every time I thought about her and Alex together, my stomach turned. How could she betray me like this? And with Alex, of all people. He was supposed to be my best friend, someone I trusted with everything. The next day, after a night of no sleep, I knew I had to confront Alex. I went over to his place, barely holding back the anger that had been building all night. When he opened the door, he looked surprised to see me. "Hey, man, what's up?" he asked, trying to act casual, but I wasn't having it. "You know exactly what's up," I snapped. Emily told me everything. His face went white, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. He stammered out an apology, saying it just happened, and that he never meant to hurt me. but I wasn't in the mood for excuses. How could you? I shouted, my voice shaking with rage. You were my best friend. You knew how much she meant to me, and you slept with her anyway. And then you both lied about it for months. Alex stood there, looking like a child who would have been caught stealing, but he didn't have any real answers. I don't know, man, he muttered. It was a mistake. That word, mistake, felt like a slap in the face. They both kept using it as if that would somehow make it better. But it didn't. A mistake is something you regret immediately, not something you hide for months. I stormed out of Alex's place, my mind spinning with confusion and anger. I didn't know what to do next. Should I end things with Emily? Cut Alex out of my life? Part of me wanted to walk away from both of them, but another part of me felt paralyzed. These were the two people I was closest to in the world. How could they do this to me, and how was I supposed to just move on from it? I spent the next few days in a fog, barely able to focus on anything except the betrayal. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, and it made me sick. Emily kept texting me, begging me to meet her, saying she wanted to explain. But I wasn't ready to face her. Eventually, she showed up at my apartment, refusing to leave until I talked to her. She looked wrecked, red eyes, trembling hands. I'm sorry, she whispered, standing in my doorway. I never wanted to hurt you. It was a stupid mistake. I could feel my anger bubbling up again. A mistake, I repeated. It wasn't just a mistake, Emily. You slept with my best friend, and then you lied about it for months. How am I supposed to believe anything you say now? She broke down in tears, but I wasn't moved. I'd seen enough fake apologies to last a lifetime. I'll do anything to fix this, she pleaded. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I wanted to believe her, but how could I? The girl standing in front of me wasn't the Emily I thought I knew. The trust was gone, and I didn't know if it could ever be rebuilt. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, I said, feeling a lump form in my throat. You broke my heart. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, not ready to let her back in. Over the next few weeks, Alex tried to reach out to me too. He sent me texts, asking if we could meet up and talk things out, but I ignored him. I wasn't ready to face him. The thought of seeing him made my blood boil. How was I supposed to just forgive him? Every time I saw his name pop up on my phone, I felt a wave of anger. He was supposed to be my best friend, the one person I could always count on, and he had thrown all of that away for some secret fling. The pressure kept building, and I started avoiding our mutual friends too. I knew people were talking. Everyone in our group had noticed something was off. It was only a matter of time before they found out the truth, and I wasn't ready to deal with the fallout. So I kept to myself, spending more time at work, anything to keep my mind off the mess that had become my life. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape it. The betrayal was like a weight I couldn't shake off. One night, Alex showed up at my door unannounced. I wasn't expecting him, and the moment I saw him standing there, I felt my chest tighten with rage. Can we talk? He asked, looking genuinely remorseful. I didn't want to let him in, but I couldn't avoid him forever. We sat down in my living room, and he started apologizing all over again. I mess up, man, he said, his voice cracking. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I sat there, staring at him, trying to process everything. You didn't mean to hurt me, I repeated, my voice shaking. You slept with my girlfriend, Alex. You lied to me for months. You think that's something you can just apologize for? He looked down at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. I know, he said quietly. I know I screwed up. I don't have an excuse for it. I wanted to punch him, to scream at him, but all I could feel was this overwhelming sense of loss. I had lost my best friend, and nothing he said could fix that. Alex left that night without getting the closure he was hoping for. I didn't forgive him, and I wasn't ready to move past it. How could I? The betrayal still felt raw, like an open wound that refused to heal. Emily kept texting me too, asking if we could meet up and talk. She was desperate to fix things, but I wasn't ready to face her either. I needed time to figure out what I wanted, time to process everything that had happened. The problem was, no matter how much time passed, the pain didn't go away. Every time I thought about Emily and Alex together, it was like a knife twisting in my gut. I knew I couldn't keep living like this. stuck in limbo, unable to move forward. I had to make a decision. So after weeks of avoiding them both, I called Emily and told her we needed to meet. I didn't know what I was going to say, but I knew I couldn't keep dragging this out. We met at a quiet cafe, away from our usual spots. The moment she walked in, I could see the guilt written all over her face. She sat down across from me, looking like she was on the verge of tears. "I'm sorry," she said again, her voice trembling. "I know I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself for it. But I still love you, and I want to make this right." I looked at her, my heart heavy with conflicting emotions. I had loved her once, so much, but now all I felt was pain. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "What you and Alex did, it broke me. How am I supposed to trust you again?" She reached across the table, taking my hand in hers. "I'll do anything," she said, her eyes pleading. "Just give me a chance to prove that I can be better, that we can be better." For a moment, I almost believed her, but then the memories of her betrayal came flooding back, and I pulled my hand away. "I need time," I said, standing up to leave. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to move past this." The days that followed were filled with tension, confusion, and a sense of loss. Emily kept sending me messages, but I ignored most of them. I needed to focus on myself, and I didn't have the energy to deal with her guilt anymore. But it was hard. Every corner of my life felt tainted by what had happened. Even our mutual friends started asking questions, wanting to know why I've been so distant lately. I didn't know how to explain what had happened without making everything worse. Finally, one night, after several weeks of avoidance, Alex texted me asking if we could meet up. Just the two of us. I wasn't sure if I was ready to face him, but I needed closure. So we agreed to meet at a local bar, one we used to frequent back when things were still normal between us. When I walked in and saw him sitting there, it felt like a punch to the gut. This was the guy who'd been my best friend for years, the guy I'd shared everything with. And now, he was just someone I didn't even recognize. We sat down, and for the first few minutes, neither of us said anything. The silence was heavy, loaded with all the things we weren't saying. Finally, Alex spoke up. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said, his voice low. "But I miss our friendship, man. I miss how things used to be." I looked at him, my heart itching with a mix of anger and sadness. "Things can't go back to the way they were," I said, my voice firm. "What you did, there's no undoing that." He nodded, clearly expecting that answer, but it didn't make the conversation any easier. "I know," he said, taking a deep breath. I don't want to lose you as a friend. I know I messed up, and I hate myself for it. But we've been through so much together. I don't want this to be the end of everything." I could hear the desperation in his voice, and part of me wanted to give him that reassurance, to tell him that we could still be friends, that things could somehow work out. But the truth was, I didn't know if I had it in me to forgive him. "I can't make any promises," I said, my voice quieter now. "Maybe one day I'll be able to move past this. But right now, I just don't know." Alex looked down at his drink, his shoulders slumped in defeat. "I get it," he said softly. "I'll give you the space you need." We sat there in silence for a while longer before I finally stood up to leave. As I walked out of the bar, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. The chapter with Alex wasn't fully closed, but it felt like the beginning of the end. After that meeting, I decided to take a break from both Emily and Alex. I needed to figure out what I wanted, who I wanted to be. The betrayal had shaken me to my core, and I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. So I focused on myself. I started going to the gym again, spending time with friends who weren't involved in the drama, and doing things that made me feel like me again. Slowly, the weight of the betrayal started to lift, but just when I thought I was starting to heal, Emily showed up at my apartment again. She was crying, begging me to reconsider. "I miss you," she said, her voice breaking. "I know I hurt you, but I love you, and I can't stand the thought of losing you forever." I stood there, torn between the love I used to feel for her and the anger that still burned inside me. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to try and make things work. But another part of me knew that the trust was gone, and without trust, what did we have? "Emily," I said, my voice calm but firm, "I loved you. But what you and Alex did, it changed everything. I can't just forget about it. I can't pretend like it didn't happen. She wiped her eyes, her hands shaking. I know, she whispered, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. Just give me a chance. I sighed, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I need time, I said, stepping back into my apartment. I don't know if I can give you that chance. As the days passed, I found myself thinking more and more about what I wanted from life. Did I want to spend my time trying to rebuild a broken relationship? Or was it time to let go and move on? The more I thought about it, the clearer things became. I needed to focus on myself, on healing, on rebuilding my life without Emily and Alex. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of their betrayal. It was time to take control of my own happiness. So I made a decision. I called Emily and told her we needed to talk one last time. We met at the same cafe as before, and when I saw her walk in, I felt a sense of finality wash over me. This was it. I've thought about everything, I said, my voice steady. And I've realized that I can't move forward with you in my life. The trust is gone, and without trust, we have nothing. Emily's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't try to argue. She knew it was over. I understand, she said softly, her voice barely audible. I'm so sorry. I'll never forgive myself for what I did to you. I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I hope you find happiness, I said, standing up to leave. But I can't be a part of your life anymore. As I walked out of the cafe, I felt lighter, like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It was the end of something that had once meant so much to me, but it was also the beginning of something new, something better. With Emily out of my life, I started focusing on rebuilding myself. I reconnected with old friends, threw myself into work, and started taking care of my mental and physical health. It wasn't easy. There were still days when the pain of the betrayal would sneak up on me, but I was learning how to move forward. I didn't need Emily or Alex to be happy. I was learning to be happy on my own. Months later, I ran into Alex again at a mutual friend's party. It was awkward, to say the least. We hadn't spoken since our last meeting, and seeing him brought back a flood of memories I wasn't ready to deal with. But instead of avoiding him, I walked over and said hello. We made small talk, both of us dancing around the elephant in the room. Finally, Alex looked at me, his expression serious. I know I don't deserve it, but I hope someday you can forgive me, he said quietly. I looked at him, feeling a strange sense of calm. Maybe someday, I said honestly. But right now, I'm focused on moving forward. Alex nodded, understanding. We didn't talk much after that, but it felt like the closure I needed. I didn't need his apology anymore, and I didn't need to hold on to the anger. I was ready to let go and focus on my own life. As I continued to move forward, I started dating again, though I was cautious not to rush into anything. I was still healing, and I didn't want to bring any of my past baggage into a new relationship. But it felt good to be open to the idea of love again, to know that I was capable of moving on from the pain of the past. I was learning how to trust again, not just others, but myself. Looking back now, I realized that what happened with Emily and Alex was a turning point in my life. It forced me to confront the parts of myself that I'd been ignoring for too long. I had spent so much time trying to keep everyone else happy that I'd forgotten about my own happiness. Their betrayal hurt, but it also woke me up to what really mattered, my own well-being. These days, I don't think about Emily or Alex much anymore. They become part of a chapter in my life that's closed. I've forgiven them in my own way, even if we'll never be friends again. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means letting go of the anger and moving forward. I've chosen to focus on the future, and that's where my energy is going now. I've rebuilt my life, and I'm proud of how far I've come. I'm stronger now, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. I've learned to trust myself again, and I've built new relationships with people who truly value me. I don't need to hold on to the past anymore. The future is bright, and I'm excited to see where it takes me. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go. But it's also the most important. Letting go of Emily and Alex was painful, but it was necessary for my own growth. I'm happier now, and I know that whatever challenges come my way, I'll be able to handle them. The betrayal may have hurt me, but it didn't break me. I've come out on the other side stronger and more resilient than ever. I'm ready for whatever comes next, and I know that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. I've learned to trust myself, and that's the most important lesson of all.